Profile. Producer Profile is a show where we showcase some of the talented people who work behind the scenes in the entertainment, business, and local communities while making positive influences on the lives of others.
Welcome to Producer Profile. I'm Stella Winston.
And I'm Jim Hill.
Jim, I have a question from a personal romantic relationship quiz.
Oh.
And there are 4 choices.
All right.
Okay? And each one is a sign of value. And I'm going to tell you who came up with this quiz in a moment. Okay, here it goes. When you were asked to change this or that about yourself, okay, A, you go tell her to jump into the lake. B, feel unworthy and work to change for the person. C, tell them that you'll change if they will. Or D, nod your head in agreement and tell them you will consider their comments.
Nod my head in agreement and tell her I will consider her.
Okay, now we're going to look at this and find out the value of this. And the value, I think you get a 10 on that one. The highest value. And this comes from our guest today, who is an author, Marlene Taylor, and she has written 2 books. The first one is Life is What You Make It, Darling, and the second one is The Silver Tongue. Welcome to Producer Profile, Marlene.
Thank you, Stella. Thank you very much.
Yes, thanks for coming.
So did I score with you?
Yeah, you scored a 10, James. Yeah, that was pretty good. Nod your head in agreement, just agree. Say anything, just agree for the moment, and tell them that you consider his or her comments because, they may have a valid point about some way that, you can improve yourself, so. And I think that positive criticism is always worthwhile considering.
Mm. So let me ask you something. You seem to be a studier of the heart because, you see, I didn't want to think about anything. I just wanted to go from my heart because sometimes the heart is smart, okay? So my thing was, let me be honest, okay? Because you just don't want to agree with someone, but you want to know, well, maybe give me some time and we'll figure this out.
That's really interesting, James, because my motto when I sign a book, I write, listen with your heart.
Okay.
Yeah, listen with your heart. I find that nowadays a lot of us don't listen with our hearts. We listen to a lot of other things. We take input from all these other places, other people, the environment, and we really don't consider what's important to us and what's really within our own souls and our own hearts. So.
Now, the world is going against that type of heart thinking?
I know. So I'm probably in a small, minority group, that's thinking that way, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, do you find conflict?
Yes. Yeah. A lot of people, disagree with what I have to say, and I don't really mean to start talking about my other book, but in my second book, A Silver Tongue. The main character, and Stella has read the book, A Silver Tongue, the main character, Tuesday Washington, kind of stands by her man to her own detriment. Right. And a lot of people don't like that.
But, in the first book, Life is What You Make It, Darling, the main character stands by her man as well.
That's right.
So, and they're both listening to their heart.
Exactly.
But in The Silver Tongue, there's abuse going on.
Yeah, there's domestic violence.
Right.
That's a problem. Yeah. So, but yes, and Life is What You Make It, Darling. She's a surgeon, and she listens to her heart, and but it's a real feel-good kind of a story, and the story is about commitment, old-fashioned values like commitment, trust, honesty, and communication in a relationship, and that's what I hope to put forward in the story.
I really got to talk to you about this, and this is personal.
Okay.
A friend of mine's, his name is Rashid Abdul Wahab.
Okay.
He tells me that the reason why I can't keep a woman is because I need to say to a woman every time I talk to her, "How are you?" Okay. Now, I have problems because when I get into a relationship, I want to say, I love you. And he says, no, you see, that's selfish. You're starting off with the I.
Okay.
And how you feel. Okay, you want to know how she's feeling.
That's right.
Okay.
That's a good idea. He's a smart guy.
Yeah, but he's a thinking person. I go from the heart. I mean, my heart says, I love you.
That's a good thing too, James. I mean, there's nothing wrong with telling a person that you love them. I think we should tell our mates and our children that we love them every day. And maybe every time we talk to them. I think that 9/11 is a good example.
Okay.
You know, Costanza is a good example of wanting to make sure you say that every day and every time you talk to the person that you love, and make sure that you say it, you know, when you're talking to them on the phone or as they're walking out the door in the morning, or, you know, anytime you get a chance, tell them how much you love them and how glad you are to be a part of their life.
Now, in both your books, it is obvious that the couples began with love, and then something happens along the way.
Yeah.
And of course, when you wrote the first one, you had something that you wanted. There was a lesson, or there was a message that you wanted to put across, and then, of course, in the Silver Tongue, a different one. How did you decide what you wanted to put across? What lesson you wanted to put across?
Well, how did I decide? Well, basically, I was raised with I heard that one of your guests was Mama was down with the movement.
Yes.
And my mother was too.
Okay.
And my mother and father and other members of my family. So they were down with the movement, and because of that, I was raised with a black consciousness.
Okay.
And so one of the things, the paramount tenets of the black movement was to family first.
Right.
Okay, that
Right.
we had to start looking at black families and making black families strong.
Right.
So I took it upon myself as a writer to talk about relationships, because we need to look at that in the African American society. You know, as African Americans, we need to make families strong, and if we have strong families, we'll have strong communities. Okay, and we can go from there. Strong community, strong race, strong society. So, so that's where I'm coming from in terms of my writing. I want to. Dr. Gwendolyn Goldsby Grant says that we need group therapy. We all need mass group therapy, and so my writing.
African Americans.
We meaning African Americans. We meaning Don Spears. He says in his book, "In Search of," I can't say the other word, but he talks about African Americans and how slavery affected our relationships, in that we weren't allowed to, say, cry or be upset when our children were sold off, you know, to another plantation. You know, that was a no-no, and our forefathers and mothers were whipped, you know, for that. And on the other hand, they were rewarded for having lots of babies. The women were, and the men were rewarded for siring and breeding lots of children. So, you know, that sort of thing, you know, went on for 400 years, and it's affected our society today. So we need to do what we can as a people to bring about a change. So
That's
ergo, life is what you make it, darling. Okay.
Okay, so it's like a healing
It's
we talking
a healing
about.
kind of thing, yeah,
Okay.
where I'm saying, you know, let's look at our relationships, you know, let's look at all different aspects. So I'm looking at Life is What You Make It, Darling, from one aspect. Life is What You Make It, Darling is a loving, feel-good story about commitment, trust, honesty, communication, all the good things that you hopefully will find in a relationship, but at the same time, it's not your regular run-of-the-mill, mushy love story. It's, I think, provides some real lessons in the story.
Now, I noticed in both your books, you have a lot of sexual intimacy involved. Now,
That's right.
and yeah, I mean,
I like that.
Yeah,
It makes
and
it
you
juicy.
yeah, it makes it juicy. So you choose to include that.
I choose to include that because I think I think it makes a book juicy, number one. And number two, sexual intimacy is a part of life.
Okay.
Okay. Without that, there would be no you or me.
Okay. Now, before we take our musical break, I want you to read an excerpt from
Okay.
Life is What You Make It, Darling.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to read just like the first paragraph or so. Okay. Chapter 1. And I start off with a quote from Louis L'Amour.
Okay.
There will come a time when you think everything is finished. That will be the beginning. Louis L'Amour. Chapter 1. He'd indulged his wife earlier that evening, surprising her with flowers and a box of Godiva chocolate truffles. A few minutes ago, he turned on her favorite CD, something by Will Downing and Rochelle Farrell. To thank him, she served champagne chilled in his favorite crystal stems and by wearing his favorite skimpy outfit, warming up to thoughts of events yet to come. Outside, giant snowflakes fell thick and heavy before melting into sparkling water as each neared the window. From the window reflected the soft glow of a candle emanating sensuous gardenia, redolent throughout the air. Now in the semi-darkness they lay, holding each other, their hands intertwined, talking in low, muted voices as the effect of the champagne heightened their sexual senses, becoming intoxicated as much by the champagne as by the perfumed air. Okay?
Wow.
I like that.
I like that.
Yes, I like to set the scene, you know, it's a very romantic
Right,
scene.
okay.
And I want everybody to know that this couple is very much in love. Then they have some obstacles, some challenges that they need to overcome in their relationship.
Okay. Right now, we're going to come back and talk some more with you about both your books, but we're going to take a musical break, and we're going to hear James Brown do Mother Popcorn with his band, the JBs.
Remember that.
Okay.
Some black guitar, man, skinny legs long. Break a boss, I like the crowd, and when they walk, they talk loud. Sing, come over me. Ha. At the time, I was all alone. I had a secret, but I was gone. Somebody ducked me. Said, now see what you were doing, still ahead of me. When I get burnt, I get sad. When I want to love it, you got to have. See, got to have a mother for me. Hey! Ah, popcorn, baby. Come on. Good God. Do the four corners and do the house. Show everybody where you at. You got to be boss. When you do your little thing, when it's small rain, and get back, baby. Or James Brown's gonna do his thing. I'm going. Good Lord. Hey! Sometimes I'm feeling low. Sometimes I'm feeling low. Call another brother. Talking about Maceo. Maceo! Come blow your horn. Good God. I don't want no trash. I don't want no trash.
Yeah, go. Oh, welcome back to Producer Profile. We have as our guest producer Marlene Taylor, and she's written 2 books, Life is What You Make It, Darling, and A Silver Tongue. And we spoke about the first book,
Right.
and you read an excerpt from it, and it was very romantic. and
Very romantic.
Very.
It gets hotter.
You hear that? It does get hot. Let's move on to your second book, A Silver Tongue. I read it, and I had to hold myself. I'm screaming at the main character throughout the whole book. You know, I'm trying not to be judgmental because you never know what a woman goes through or a person goes through in an abusive relationship. But I was rooting for her the whole time. Tell us about that character. When you were creating her, when you were writing her, what went through your mind?
Well, I had been in an abusive relationship myself.
Okay.
So I guess that was part of the inspiration. You know, was inspired. The story was inspired from a true situation.
Right.
It's fiction in a whole, but it was inspired in part from a true story. So I wanted to kind of answer the question: why do women stay in abusive relationships? And I think I hopefully I answered it. A lot of people are saying that I'm pretty much on point with the story, in that there are a lot of different factors. You know, the number one factor I think being love. You know,
That's why they stay in a.
well, that's the
because
number
of love?
one factor. I just use that. There's a myriad, but I'm going to just mention 4 main factors.
Okay.
One would be emotional, and spiritual, financial, and then the physical. So emotionally, she loves him, and she's in a loving relationship with her husband for more than 7 years of marriage, and then suddenly things change.
Does she love
And-
herself?
Yes.
Very much so.
Yeah, she loves
Wow.
herself. She's a lawyer. She's a lawyer. He's an air traffic controller. And by the way, I used to be an air traffic controller myself. But and that's where that part came from. So, but she's a lawyer and he's an air traffic controller. So, ergo the financial part of it. Okay. So there's the material and financial part that is there, but part of that relationship too, which is important. But yeah, she loves him. She loves herself, and suddenly things change. She doesn't know why, but as women, we tend to think that we can fix things.
Yes.
So and fix people, and I think that there's also the habit in that if things have been one way for 7 years, and it's been a pretty much a loving situation for 7 years, all of a sudden when it changes, you think this is only temporary. Because we're going to go back to the other way after a short period. So who knows how long it's going to take? Some people may take it for a week, a month. Some people a day, and they say I'm out of here.
No way. Once you put your hands on me, that I'm out.
Yeah,
Usually I hear that. My question to you is about the surrounding characters. She had a lot of support from in the book. But why didn't one of them, I was screaming, you're her best friend? Tell her to get out of there. Not one of them told her.
But she
I was
didn't.
upset with
She
that.
never revealed to them that she was in an abusive relationship. She never did. Not until after everything was said and done.
Okay.
So they would not advise her to leave because they didn't know. The only person that advised her to leave was the therapist, because that was the only person who knew about the abuse.
Okay, let me rephrase it, because after they parted,
Oh, okay.
it was obvious that he was very abusive, where he could, kill her. And yet she was still within reach, He could touch her. And I could see that the husband was very dangerous. And yet
The therapist saw that the husband was dangerous, and she advised Tuesday to leave.
Right.
But Tuesday thought that the therapist didn't know what she was talking about because she didn't see the full picture. And Tuesday believed with all her heart that her husband was having a mental breakdown. That's what she believed. And so her vow said in sickness and in health, and she believed that he was sick. So,
And she was right.
and so she stayed.
She was right.
She was right to stay, or she
That
was right he was sick? Okay.
Which is another subject that you covered in your book, mental illness, but he didn't seek any help. And
Yeah. So in the story, I think that the character had some issues to begin with, and that the drug abuse in the story exacerbated those issues.
now you
And of course, she didn't know about the drug abuse. So
Now, you named it a silver tongue, and I know they had some harsh words. Well, he had some very harsh words for her, not loving words. Where does the title A Silver Tongue come from?
there's a character, actually the little voice that he hears. The husband is guided by this little voice, and that little voice, I decided was a character in unto itself, and that became the silver tongue, like a little silver tongue devil.
And you
that
treat
he
it
was
as another
listening to.
character.
Yes, I treat it as another character in the story.
I want to try to get to the abuse that women accept. Okay, if we're looking back at slavery and the whole breakup of the family, the fathers are in some respect in jail, etc., etc. But it seems to me that if a little girl is partly raised by a father, she's not going to accept that kind of abuse.
Well, I'm not a clinical psychologist, but I'm a psychology buff.
Okay.
And I've taken psychology courses in college, and it's my opinion that little girls, when they are abandoned by their fathers, you just said they're partly raised by a father. So when they are abandoned by their father, I think that they are constantly and forever looking for that love from a man.
Right.
And I put it that they want to have some testosterone in the air. You know, we just need the testosterone needs to be in the air, and they have to have it. So and girls have to have it, women have to have it. So and that's a part of the problem too. You know.
You see, because one of the things that hit me is like when coming up in the projects in the street, and learning the game. One of the games is if you can get a woman to buy you a drink, you can pimp her.
Ooh.
Okay.
Oh.
So I mean that's just street law. You go up to her and you say, buy me a drink, and if she buys you a drink, then she has no self-esteem. But one thing, this young lady was talking to me, and she had an abusive husband, and she said to me, the first thing he did is he told me to buy him a drink, and my father told me to never buy any man a drink. And I said, good for him. That saved her from being pimped.
Oh, okay. So the difference, you're just saying there's a difference between being pimped and abuse.
Okay, we are going to bring it to an end. Thank you for coming to produce a profile.
Okay.
And as it ends, I want you to read the poem.
The poem from A Silver Tongue.
Tongue.
Yeah, so A Silver Tongue has many connotations. That was the other reason for the title. And that some people think that a silver tongue is the voice of an angel.
Okay.
So now,
Go ahead.
Tuesday did leave after a while, and she received this poem as a gift. An angel, a silver tongue, an angel sits near, speaking soft words of wisdom into my ear, exposing what I know in my heart, aware of what I fear to hear. The angel knows no matter how hard I try, I've yet to get over you, for there is a part of me that lives, that believes you still love me too. Have no fear, my dear, the gentle angel says. Soon there will come a day when that part will die and wither away, and in its place of feeling strong, a new heart will be born, a new love you will see, and no longer will your heart be torn. Use these words of love anew, these precious pearls, to quench your thirst and heal your heart, my dear. Keep them close to you.
Thank you.
Too fast.
Yes.
You ended too fast. Wow.
Thank you.